Chapter 1585 An Unexpected Helper. Chapter 1585 An Unexpected Helper. Since he has committed murder, what else is there left to say? Apprehend him, an unfamiliar black demon exclaimed. He was a member of the Go clan, and belonged to the Conservative Party. Wait. A voice rang out, and Ji Yufeng actually stepped out, and stood in front of Ling Han, looking like he was about to confront the few black demons head-on. Seniors, this matter should be discussed further. Though Ling Han has indeed overstepped his boundaries slightly, it was also because these three people have bullied him intolerably. Everyone was astonished. They had not thought that someone would actually stand up and speak on Ling Han's behalf at this moment. Could it be that this guy was a rash fool? The heaven demons were arguing with each other, and you actually dared interfere. Who did you think you were? Was it just anyone that could become an envoy of justice? Were you even qualified to uphold justice? Humph, we are enforcing the rules here. Step aside, the black demon from the Go clan said. He flicked his sleeve, appearing to be slightly displeased. However, Ji Yufeng was a demon master as well. Though he was weaker than him, he had to give him some face after all. Yet Ji Yufeng was very stubborn, and he insisted, Ling Han has to be punished, but his crime does not deserve death. Please have mercy, seniors. Everyone was even more confused. They did not see that he had any friendship with Ling Han, so why would he protect him at this time? Could it be that they had an unknown relationship between them that could not be exposed to others? Even Ling Han was slightly confused. If Ji Yufeng had been the Rain Emperor, Feng Poyun, Empress Luanxing, or Hu Niu, then he would not be confused at all, because them helping him would be due to their brotherhood, or because they were husband and wife. But Ji Yufeng? In fact, he only knew the other's name. Step aside, or you will be suppressed alongside him, the black demon from the Go clan stated coldly. He belonged to the Conservative Party in the first place, and was filled with negative feelings for those not belonging to a forbidden land. Since he has already given the other face, but he did not want to accept, then he shouldn't blame him for being merciless. Did he really think that he did not dare make a move? Ji Yufeng showed a conflicted expression, his hands clenched tightly into fists, yet just when everyone thought he was about to give up, he shook his head resolutely, and exclaimed, I will not. Such nerve. Just exactly were you aiming for? The two of them did not have any deep relations between them, yet he still took the risk of himself possibly being suppressed. This was practically absolutely baffling. Could it be that there was really such an idealistic person in this world that would not hesitate to attempt the impossible for the sake of righteousness? Humph, then we will apprehend you as well, the black demon from the Go clan exclaimed coldly. Ji Yufeng. Ling Han called out from behind, communicating a message through divine sense. Later I will wrap my divine sense around you, make sure you do not resist. A strange look flickered in Ji Yufeng's eyes, as well as a sliver of resistance, yet he still nodded. Ling Han took a few steps forwards, and laughed loudly. We'll end things here today. Take a message from me, have that old geezer from the Tan clan come here personally, and I will come out to meet him. Otherwise, you will never find me for the rest of your lives. Where else do you think you can hide? The black demon from the Go clan moved, and grabbed out at Ling Han, yet he had just raised his hand when he shockingly discovered that Ling Han had vanished. It was as if he had turned into empty air, and had completely disappeared. Not only Ling Han, even Ji Yufeng had disappeared. Hey! All the demon masters were stunned. Where was he? There is no wave caused by tearing of space, so he definitely had not left via using a teleportation seal. A spatial god tool. The demon masters soon confirmed that. A few of them immediately smirked coldly. What a real joke. Did he think that just because he hid inside his spatial god tool, they would not be able to do anything to him? They were demon masters here, and they themselves were capable of creating spatial god tools, yet he wanted to pull a bluff on them? Such ignorance. They released their divine sense, and began to search for this spatial god tool. However, their expressions became gradually grimmer and uglier. They could not find it, no matter where they searched. How could this be possible? The demon masters all exchanged looks, and could see the surprise in each other's eyes. Where was the spatial god tool? This is definitely no spatial god tool. But what kind of treasure would be able to take in a living being, yet not reveal any traces? Gasp! They inhaled sharply at the same time. A celestial tool. That was a celestial tool, something that not even a celestial king might possess, and those that did possess it would definitely be big shots among the celestial kings. In the great turmoil all those years ago, some celestial kings had fallen, and there were even some supreme celestial kings that stood at the seventh or eighth heaven among them. Then, it would be possible for the boy to have obtained a celestial tool. That's right, it must be because he has obtained the treasure trove of a celestial king, and learnt a celestial king technique that allowed him to merge the regulations of the two realms. Furthermore, he also possesses a celestial tool. We have to find him. Those black demons were all filled with jealousy. Even Yi Chengjong and Zheng Jing, who had initially been on Ling Han's side, were restless. In view of a celestial king technique and a celestial tool, even they could not control their greed. Yet, how could they actually manage to find the Black Tower? What wishful thinking. After searching for a few days, they had no choice but to give up, report this piece of news to their superiors, and ask for stronger characters to be mobilized. However, even if earth demons and heaven demons came, so what? They only stood at the apex of divine Tao, so how could they possibly discover the profound secrets of a celestial item? Ouyang Taishan also came. He flew into a thunderous rage, and exclaimed, "So this was why you all drew me over to Moon Wolf Planet. It wasn't because someone was stuck inside a mystery realm, but rather because you all wanted to make a move on Ling Han. Who is it? Step out. Who came up with such a vile scheme?" The few heaven demons looked at one another, and one of them said, "Brother Taishan, there is no need for you to be too excited. As the saying goes, all natural treasures of the heaven and earth should be possessed by those of virtue, and that brat is only a mere ant, so what right does he have to possess the precious treasures of a celestial king?" Ouyang Taishan's eyes were extraordinarily cold, and a silvery river appeared behind him. It was densely covered with innumerable stars that were exuding a brilliant light, while he himself was also emitting a frightening aura. It was as if the whole mystery realm would crumble with a slight tremble from him. This was absolutely possible. The Genesis tier stood at the apex of divine Tao, and had absolute destructive power in this realm. "And you all have virtue?" he questioned disdainfully, furious to the extreme. "Ho ho, the incident has already happened, so what need is there to deliberate about this further?" A heaven demon stepped out as a peacemaker. "What is important now is to make that brat come out. After all, the matter of entering into the celestial realm is still left on his shoulders." Ouyang Taishan was already speechless with fury. You all treated him like this, and would now delude yourselves into thinking that Ling Han would assist you in merging the two realms? To be fair, that brat is indeed unqualified to possess the inheritance of a celestial king. This is something that belongs to us, the remaining residents of the celestial realm. However, since it was that brat that obtained the treasure trove of the celestial king, we can allow him to cultivate the celestial king technique as well, but he must hand over the celestial tool. Another heaven demon declared. This was completely ridiculous. It was they that wanted to snatch what belonged to Ling Han, yet they put up a pretense of being generous, and allowed Ling Han to cultivate a celestial king technique as if they had granted him an insurmountable kindness. Ouyang Taishan didn't even want to speak anymore. He had made his decision. As long as Ling Han appeared, he would take him away from this place. He was the one who had brought Ling Han to this place, and he naturally would bring him out of this place completely unharmed. The heaven demons all exchanged looks and nodded. One of them moved unnoticeably, and had already sealed Ouyang Taishan's movements, not allowing him to make any move to interfere. As a heaven demon himself, and furthermore, one that had cultivated to the pinnacle, he still had that much confidence to accomplish that. Ask old geezer Tan to come over. Though it is possible that the brat was speaking false words, we can still make an attempt. Chapter 1586, Jiyu Feng's True Face. Chapter 1586, Jiyu Feng's True Face. Inside the Black Tower, Jiyu Feng's face was filled with shock. The expanse of this spatial god tool rendered even him speechless. He raised his head, and saw that there were only two colors, black and white, interwoven in the skies. Those were the regulations of the immortal realm and netherworld. Because they were opposites, They had taken form and were opposing each other in this manner. He was even more stunned. This spatial god tool could actually accommodate the regulations of two realms at the same time. This was too incredible. Come, I'll take you around on a tour. A strange smile curled up the corners of Ling Han's lips as he led Ji Yufeng on a stroll. On the way, he gave an introduction. 1 year was equivalent to 1,000 years for the herbs growing in this place, and once in a while, something the likes of the 5-element life force would also be nurtured here. Ji Yufeng was completely speechless, and followed Ling Han around like he was a dead fish. If anyone suddenly found out all this, they would definitely go numb with shock. Finally, Ling Han brought Ji Yufeng to the reincarnation tree. The Empress and the heavenly phoenix divine maiden were presently cultivating in isolation beneath the tree, and now that the reincarnation tree had been upgraded, 1 day was equivalent to 10 years of cultivation. Furthermore, there was also a boost to the numbers it could accommodate at the same time, reaching as many as 20 people. Thus, the heavenly phoenix divine maiden finally did not have to compete with the 9 doppelgangers of the Empress. This is the reincarnation tree, Ling Han introduced. For those comprehending Tao beneath the tree, 1 day is equivalent to as long as 10 years. A muscle twitched in Ji Yufeng's cheek. No wonder your cultivation level is already approaching the Genesis tier when you yourself are less than 500 years old. Ling Han smiled. The reincarnation tree was only one of the reasons. He had continuously risked life and limbs all these years, venturing into various mystery realms in search of fortune. This was the fundamental reason for his rapid advance through the cultivation levels. However, since Ji Yufeng was determined to think that all this was due to the reincarnation tree, then he would just let him have that misunderstanding. In any case, ho. Ling Han, do you trust me so much to bring me into such a precious treasure? Ji Yufeng broke into a smile, incredibly carefree. This definitely was sincere. For someone who can step out and stand up in support of me in that kind of situation, why can I not trust him? Moreover, Peng. Ling Han had yet to finish his words when Ji Yufeng unexpectedly moved suddenly, and shot out a punch at his back. Peng. 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 Ji Yufeng did not spare him even though he was at the advantage, and repeatedly attacked. His fists were wrapped with dazzling light, and he endlessly attacked Ling Han. He was a demon master, and be it in terms of power or regulations, he far overwhelmed Ling Han. Unless Ling Han channeled the indestructible Heaven Scroll, he would definitely be killed after 10 blows at most. His cultivation level had advanced further, so he naturally would be able to sustain more attacks from a demon master than before. Ling Han stood proudly, and did not dodge. Neither did he parry the attacks. He simply allowed Ji Yufeng to attack him as much as he liked. After attacking 100 times, Ji Yufeng couldn't help but pale in shock. Was this a fuck monster? What eternal river tier could continuously bear so many attacks from a Genesis tier? More importantly, he did not sense that Ling Han had made any move to channel any origin power. At this time, Ling Han slowly turned around. Tremendous shock filled Ji Yufeng's heart, and he quickly retreated 300 meters away, maintaining vigilance. Ling Han shook his head, smiling, and said, "You are too anxious. Why not wait until I finish saying my words to make your move?" That's right, where was I just now? Oh, and moreover, additionally, I am the supreme ruler here in this place. If anyone conspires against me, I will be able to easily kill him. Humph. Small Tower appeared, appearing to be very displeased. Ling Han sighed, and said, "Couldn't you allow me to pretend for once? You have to come out to dampen my spirit." Fine. You are the true supreme ruler of the Black Tower, and I can only control the Black Tower through you. Yet Ji Yufeng had completely paled in shock. Tool spirit. This celestial tool has a tool spirit. Impossible, even if there is a tool spirit, how could it possibly recognize an ant like you as its master? This was a celestial tool, a high and noble celestial tool that could even kill lower tier celestial kings, and it would actually recognize an eternal river tier as master. How could he believe that? You care about too much business that is not yours. Small Tower stated coldly, looking completely proud. Ji Yufeng took a deep breath, and exclaimed, "Tool spirit, recognize me as your master." I am 1,000 more outstanding than he is, and I will definitely be able to help you return to glory. Let us join forces, and create our own prosperity and success in the celestial realm. Retard. Small Tower shook slightly. I can't be bothered with him, I'm leaving. With a light wave, it suddenly disappeared without a trace. Jiu Feng was anxious, and wanted to pursue it, but he had absolutely no idea where he should go to chase after it. Ling Han broke into a grin. It's about time for you to show your true face, right? At this time, the Empress and the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden also stopped cultivating, and stood on either side of Ling Han as they stared coldly at Jiu Feng. True face? What do you mean? Jiu Feng calmed down. Ling Han was unhurried. In any case, he had as much time as he wanted, and said, you and I could be considered total strangers, yet you would actually step forward so bravely for my sake. Ho ho, I believe that there are indeed such people in this world, but I definitely do not believe that you are one of them. Why? Jiu Feng asked solemnly. Because when we first met, there was something odd about the gaze you directed at me, Ling Han replied. That's your only reason? This naturally is only one of the reasons, Ling Han continued. Thus, I drew you into the Black Tower. If you had been a good guy, being able to go so far for the sake of a complete stranger, it would have been all right for me to let you know the secret of the Black Tower. I could even allow you to enjoy the benefits of the Black Tower as well. If you had truly been as I had guessed, don't forget, in this place, I am the master. Ahem. A cough rang out from Small Tower. This proud tower was really too petty. Jiu Feng did not speak. He directed his gaze at the Heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden and Empress Luan Xing, an ominous glint in his eyes. Don't think of taking them hostage, because you will not be able to do so. Ling Han shook his head. Actually, it is not difficult to guess your identity. Go ahead and tell me, Jiu Feng said solemnly. The words ancient and moon combine to become Hu, and wood and wind together is Feng, Ling Han said with a smile. Hu Feng, fancy that you would actually pursue me all the way into the netherworld, and you even found me. Furthermore, you changed your appearance and entered into the Green River Valley as well. Jiu Feng's body shook, and he did not say a word. Light slightly flickered on his body. Immediately, there was a massive change to his features. What had initially been tanned skin turned fair, with a kind of elegance and otherworldly air to him. Hu Feng, the strongest prodigy from the 8 Stones Forbidden Land. Ling Han clapped his hands, and said, I have to admit that I am impressed. You managed to grasp the regulations of the netherworld so quickly, and have even increased your cultivation level to Demon Master level. Hu Feng humphed. When he had first entered into the netherworld, he had been continuously hunted down by beings of the netherworld, and the regulations of the immortal realm he had grasped were also worn down endlessly by the heaven and earth of this realm. Thus, he simply began to cultivate the great Tao of the netherworld. In the first place, he was already standing at the height of saint, so cultivating the great Tao of the netherworld was naturally a matter of half the work with twice the effect. In a short few years, his power had returned to the Genesis tier, and he had become a demon master, but he had also fitted into the netherworld perfectly. For the sake of the treasures in Ling Han's possession, he changed his appearance, and drew the attention of the heaven-crushing alliance with his talent. He was then drawn into the Green River Valley. At first, he wanted to find a chance to kill Ling Han secretly, and rob the latter of all his treasures, but he had never imagined that Ling Han would actually be such a troublemaker. You were really a fuck-bearer of bad luck, causing him to have no choice but to take a gamble, and step forward bravely at the most crucial moment to speak up for you, Ling Han. He knew that Ling Han had in his possession a celestial tool which could be concealed and had no form. At least, even a saint like himself could find no traces of it. If Ling Han had no conscience, and didn't take him with him, he would then reveal his identity. The Hu clan was also a member of the Heaven-Crushing Alliance. Worse come to worst, he would only be reprimanded, and would not have any life-threatening danger. Chapter 1587, Killing Hu Feng. Chapter 1587, Killing Hu Feng. Hu Feng only had one motive for taking such risks. He wanted to solely possess the Celestial King technique and the Celestial Tool. Otherwise, would the 9 forbidden lands of the Netherworld share this with their allies of the immortal realm? What a joke. Since he only had to cultivate the Celestial King technique to be able to merge the regulations of the two realms and enter into the Celestial realm, then what need was there for the heaven-crushing alliance? What did it have to do with the immortal realm any longer? Promoting the merging of the two realms? None of my business. I only wanted myself to be able to enter into the Celestial realm, and that was enough. Xiu. Hu Feng's figure suddenly streaked out. His target was the heavenly phoenix divine maiden and the empress. Previously, he had already tried. Ling Han was protected by the tool spirit, and could not be wounded at all. As long as he managed to take these two women hostage, only then would it be possible for him to turn the tides. I already said that you are only meat in this place, and can only wait to be killed at my leisure, so what are you going to so much trouble for? Ling Han very casually delivered a slap, and Hu Feng was suddenly sent flying by the force like a kite that had its string cut. Pu. Hu Feng spat out a mouthful of blood, his face filled with shock. He actually was no match for Ling Han. He was a great saint, and was actually no match for an eternal river tear? How was he supposed to believe that? Don't have too high an opinion of yourself. Beneath celestial kings, anyone that enters into the Black Tower will only be trampled by me, Ling Han said calmly. Master is wise. Master is imperious. Master will unify the whole world, that will last for eternity. The Azura Demon Emperor made a timely appearance. At this time, he naturally had to flatter Ling Han like crazy. He was really filled with incredible admiration. This time, it was a demon master that had come in, and he was still suppressed by his master just like all those before him. His master was really too strong. Hu Feng struggled to get to his feet. Ling Han did not deal him a fatal blow, or he would have been done for with a single strike. He was both envious and defiant. The reason why Ling Han could be so powerful was only because he had obtained a celestial tool. It was not he himself that had such strength, he had only had good ***** luck. No, this is mine. I, Hu Feng, have natural talent that is nature-defying, and will definitely become a powerful figure in the celestial realm in future. Tool Spirit, did you hear that? Follow me, only I will be able to return you to glory, Hu Feng shouted at the skies. He already knew that he was indeed no match for Ling Han in this place. Thus, his only possibility of turning the tides was for the tool spirit to change sides. Small Tower appeared, and said to Ling Han, his words have some logic to them. Brat, quickly humbly urge me to stay at your side. Ling Han chuckled. He knew that this proud tower was only joking around. Yet it was as if Hu Feng had clutched a straw when drowning. Tool Spirit, I promise you, as long as you follow me, I will make you my equal, and definitely will not command you. Small Tower scoffed slightly. He spoke as if Ling Han was able to command it now. It was proud, and couldn't even bother to take notice of Hu Feng. It was only teasing Ling Han by habit. Ling Han clapped his hands, and said, Hu Feng, don't struggle any further. Accept your fate. Humph, you're just by depending on the celestial tool, what strength is that? Do you dare measure yourself against me in true abilities? Hu Feng spurred him on. Otherwise, he really did not have a sliver of a chance. You are in the Genesis tier, and you actually have the fact to ask my husband to measure himself against you? You truly are shameless. Heavenly Phoenix Maiden rebuked. Yet Hu Feng only acted as if he had not heard her words. For the sake of his life, and also to turn the tides, so what if he was a little shameless? Losers were always in the wrong, history was written by the victors. Ling Han shook his head, and said, I am not that senseless. Hu Feng, when you hunted me before, why did I not see you suppress your cultivation level to fight me? Ho ho, in your eyes, I am only an ant, and you disdained to even cast another look at me. Then, that is also the case at present. In my eyes, you are not even an ant. I have already shown my respect for you by saying so much nonsense to you. You can think of this as your reward for pursuing me into the netherworld to seek death, and now, you can be on your way. No. Hu Feng roared. He was not reconciled to this. Hong, he ignited his life force, planning to put his life on the line. When a Genesis tier burned their life force and put their life on the line, just how frightening would that be? The present Hu Feng would probably be able to even fight a black demon for a while inside the Black Tower. With the regulations of both realms complete, Hu Feng could completely exhibit the might of a saint, and was in fact stronger than he was outside. Too bad. The problem was that Ling Han was even stronger in the Black Tower. He tapped out a finger. Wang, endless power crushed Hu Feng, and he was suddenly pressed onto the ground, his limbs spread out. He no longer had the slightest ability to resist. Inside the Black Tower, just how strong could Ling Han be? Beneath Celestial King, he would be able to suppress all. A single breath of air from the severing mundane ancestor would be able to kill a saint king or heaven demon a few hundred times over. What more when it was power on the level of a celestial king? I will not yield. I will not yield. I will not yield. Hu Feng's eye sockets were almost splitting in his extreme fury. He did not beg for mercy. When he had hunted Ling Han, he had also been absolutely merciless. If Ling Han still felt soft-hearted towards him, then he must definitely have gone out of his mind. He was filled with hatred. Why had he walked right into this trap? Why hadn't he killed Ling Han at an earlier time? You are only going first. Not long after this, I will return to the immortal realm, and raise the 8 stones forbidden land to the ground. Ling Han humphed, and lowered his hand slightly. Pa, Hu Feng was instantly crushed into dust. Not even the smallest stain of blood was left behind. He waved his hand once more, and flipped through Hu Feng's memories. He also retrieved a spatial spirit tool. Hu Feng was indeed capable of creating a spatial god tool, but its capacity was limited. Thus, even a Genesis tier would mostly bring a spatial spirit tool with them, for no other reason but it having a large capacity. After flipping through Hu Feng's memories, realization dawned on Ling Han. No wonder Hu Feng had been able to catch up to him, so it was because there was a link of karma connecting them. Now that he had killed Hu Feng, he had again formed a link of karma with the Hu clan, which could only be severed with 1 to 3 times of undergoing heavenly tribulation. As for those places that touched on core secrets, like the celestial technique of the Hu clan, there was a restriction placed on Hu Feng's memories. It would be destroyed upon contact, and there was no way to go through them at all. That's all right. At least I have found out where the 8 stones forbidden land is. In future, I will charge over. Ling Han mumbled. Now I just have to wait for that old geezer from the Tan clan to come, and do something big. Ling Han paused, and then asked, Small Tower, if I use the power boosts 3 separate times, what level could my battle prowess reach? Would I be able to defeat all heaven demons and saint kings? Small Tower appeared. It can only allow you to reach the peak stage of the Genesis tier. However, on the height of regulations, you would be able to suppress any heaven demon or saint king at the peak stage because they have only grasped a portion of the regulations of Genesis tier. Which means I will be able to defeat them in a one-on-one battle? Ling Han asked. Yes. Then what in a battle of 1 against 100, or perhaps even more than that? Then your only option would be to run, Small Tower replied without any reservations. Even if they have only grasped a portion of the regulations, heaven demons and saint kings would not be too much weaker than you. You would only manage a tie in a battle against 10, at most. If there were more than 10, you would definitely die in a drawn-out battle. Ling Han rolled his eyes. These 3 power boosts from you are really a trap. Take it or leave it. Small Tower was proud. Ling Han sighed, and calculated internally. If the number of peak stage heaven demons he had to kill was limited, then he would choose 3 power boosts used separately, and if there were 20 to 30 peak stage heaven demons, he would use a single power boost, and conduct a massacre. However, there were definitely a limited number of peak stage heaven demons, and even the 9 forbidden lands would not be able to produce too many of them, what more when it was definitely impossible that all the peak stage heaven demons would come. Thus, he chose to use a small power boost. Chapter 1588, Chiding Heaven Demons. Chapter 1588, Chiding Heaven Demons. Ling Han flipped through Hu Feng's spatial spirit tool. Most of its contents were true origin stones, with a small number of alchemical pills, but he did not discover the presence of any saintly medicine. True, even if they did have saintly medicine, it would be stored in the 8 stones forbidden land to be consumed when needed. Time passed, day after day. In any case, Ling Han spent his days concocting alchemical pills and cultivating, so he completely did not feel that the time was hard to pass. He had seen the conflict between Ouyang Taishan and the other heaven demons, which made him feel slightly better. At least there was someone that had not betrayed him, and was standing on his side. A celestial king technique and celestial tool were much too important. There were powerful figures endlessly coming from the 9 great forbidden lands, from both the conservative party and open-minded party. However, now the problem was no longer about whether to maintain a conservative or an open-minded attitude. There was only a single celestial tool, so they just set it aside first. Who did not want to obtain a celestial king technique? After cultivating such a technique, there was no need to wait for the merging of the 2 realms, and they could directly achieve success in one go. The merging of the 2 realms was a theoretical possibility, but who knew how many years it would take for the 2 realms to completely merge, even if there was someone that had successfully merged the regulations of the 2 realms taking the role of a core. 100 million years. A billion years. 10 billion years. This was in no way more of a guarantee than directly cultivating a celestial king technique. Thus, the open-minded party was also divided into 2. The majority supported the actions of the conservative party, demanding that Ling Han hand over the celestial king technique. As for the celestial tool, there was only one, so they could slowly discuss its ownership. There were pitifully few big shots that shared the same opinion as Ouyang Taishan. There were only a total of 3 of them along with him, yet there were as many as 25 big shots standing opposite them. The true big shots were heaven demons, at least, and there were a few of them that were big shots even among heaven demons. The Grand Elder of the Tan clan had also come, bringing with him another heaven demon who was much younger. The latter would inherit his position and protect the Tan clan in future. "Where is the brat?" the Grand Elder of the Tan clan asked immediately after he arrived, flames that took the form of 2 fiery dragons bursting from his nostrils. Those were flames that could turn even the stars in the skies into ash. "He hasn't appeared," a heaven demon answered. Ling Han did not appear, and they could do nothing about it. They could only sit in a cross-legged position in the surrounding area. Beneath them, there were also a great many earth demons and black demons, but they were not qualified to sit on equal level with the heaven demons. They could only sit in the area at the back. There was even less need to mention the disciples. They were watching from an even farther distance away. Ling Han was also very carefree in the Black Tower. He was not anxious in the slightest, so he would just keep these people hanging. He made some queries of Small Tower, and understood the abilities of every single elite in this place. Peak stage heaven demons, 9 of them. Heaven demons beneath that, 16 people. Earth demons, 37 people. Black demons, 51 people. As for yellow demons, they were uncountable. Ling Han calculated internally. Those that could become tough opponents for him would be those 9 peak stage heaven demons, but Ouyang Taishan could be excluded. Additionally, there were also another 2 peak stage heaven demons that he suspected were Ouyang Taishan's allies. 25 heaven demons. This lineup was a little frightening, but thankfully there were only 9 peak stage heaven demons. Furthermore, if Ouyang Taishan and his companions could help him block a few of them, there were actually not many peak stage heaven demons that he had to face at the same time. "I'll just use a minor power boost. After all, it is only those few peak stage heaven demons that make me feel that they are more problematic," Ling Han mumbled. "I'm really poor, so I have to be thrifty in my use. When I return to the immortal realm, I still have to face the 8 stones forbidden land, so I have to save a few tricks up my sleeve." He smiled at the Empress and the heavenly Phoenix Maiden, and said, "My 2 wives, allow me to venture out for a short while. Be careful." The heavenly Phoenix Divine Maiden finally showed a caring, gentle expression. The Empress was very imperious, and declared, "Just beat the crap out of them." She had utter confidence in Ling Han. Ling Han nodded, and with a flash of his figure, he appeared in the outside world. Hey, let me make things clear first." He pressed down his hand. "If anyone makes a move on me, I guarantee that I will disappear immediately." With these words, all the big shots halted their advance. They had absolutely not discovered how Ling Han had appeared. This kind of ability had surpassed their imagination, and also allowed them to realize that if Ling Han truly wanted to vanish, it was not something that they could stop. Young man, the Celestial King technique is much too important, and is not something that you can possess alone, a heaven demon spoke. Hand it over. As for the trouble you have caused, we can lighten your punishment on the basis of your merit in handing over the Celestial King technique. Humph. The Grand Elder of the Tan clan was extremely displeased. The people that had died were all the members of the Tan clan. Ling Han swept an eye over the Grand Elder of the Tan clan, pointed at him, and declared, I am extremely displeased with the attitude of this old guy. Who among you can drive him away? Brat. The Grand Elder of the Tan clan suddenly moved in fury, and directed a slap at Ling Han. Sure, Ling Han's figure immediately vanished. He was gone in front of the eyes of those many big shots just like that. They couldn't find him, there was completely no trace left of him. Finally, all the heaven demons had to admit that they truly could do nothing against Ling Han. 2 days later, Ling Han reappeared, and said, Have you all learnt your lesson? I will say it one more time, and it will also be the last time. If anyone still makes a move on me, then I will not appear again, for eternity. All the heaven demons were flushing from his chiding, yet they all suppressed their emotions. There was nothing else they could do. In the face of a Celestial King technique, so what if they had to swallow their anger for this moment? Ouyang Taishan, meanwhile, stroked his beard, and showed a sliver of a smile. Previously, his expression had been stern, but seeing all the heaven demons admit defeat now made his feelings suddenly turn to delight. Only then did Ling Han nod his head. Fine then let us now talk. Brat, a heaven demon, spoke up. What brat, and old man, you have been living for so long, and all your years of living have gone to waste. Don't tell me that you do not know how to respect others. Ling Han immediately chided him, completely not treating the former as a noble and powerful heaven demon. That old heaven demon couldn't help but turn green in fury. If it was any other person who had spoken so rudely to him, it would be simply he just had to kill him with a single slap. However, the problem was that he couldn't make a move now. This was really infuriating. Now you are the ones begging me, so your attitude had better be proper, Ling Han continued. Young friend Ling, another heaven demon, spoke up. Now this is the correct attitude. Ling Han turned towards that heaven demon. Old mister, how do I address you? That heaven demon couldn't stop his expression from darkening. Old mister? He was the strongest existence of the netherworld, so how had he suddenly become an old mister? Young friend Ling, what do you want to be willing to hand over the Celestial King technique? A third heaven demon asked. This was the proper business here. Ling Han couldn't be allowed to bring them off track again. Ling Han broke into a smile, and turned to the Grand Elder of the Tan clan, deliberately pasting an expression of shock on his face. Yi, why is this old geezer still here? The Grand Elder of the Tan clan wanted to make a move again. Previously, someone called you brat, and you claimed that it was disrespectful, yet now you yourself were calling others old geezer, so why were you not talking about respect now? But when he recalled Ling Han's previous threat, he could only suppress this kind of urge, though his expression looked considerably worse than before. I was willing to come out to meet you all, and this is my sincerity. So, you all should show some of your sincerity, all right? Ling Han pointed at the Grand Elder of the Tan clan, and then waved his fingers as if he was driving someone away. The heaven demons felt like they were close to being driven mad. Previously, it was Ling Han himself who wanted the Grand Elder of the Tan clan to come here, yet now he was driving the latter away. Your attitude has changed a little too fast, hasn't it? Chapter 1589, Just Playing Around. Chapter 1589, Just Playing Around. But who asked Ling Han to be holding their lifeline at this moment? All the heaven demons discussed with each other for a while, and they finally requested the Grand Elder of the Tan clan to go somewhere further away. This infuriated the Grand Elder of the Tan clan. As a noble peak stage heaven demon, he stood at the highest summit of the netherworld, yet because of the request of a mere eternal river tier, he had been driven off. Holy fuck. The heaven demon from the Go clan spoke, young friend. Oh, now I remember. Ling Han suddenly interrupted, breaking off what this person had been saying. That is the old geezer from the Tan clan, right? I forgot that I deliberately asked for him to come. You guys go and call him back over. All the heaven demons felt an urge to throw up blood. Are you fuck playing with us? Even if these people were very subtle and had astonishing self-restraint, their expressions involuntarily turned livid at this time. If you won't, I'm leaving. Ling Han deliberately turned around. Though entering into the Black Tower was only the matter of a single thought for him, he had to show his attitude here. Don't, the heaven demons all hurriedly called out simultaneously. Fine, the Grand Elder of the Tan clan was again asked to come back. However, though he was able to return, his expression was already livid. He was not a dog, and he was being called over here and over there like this. If it was someone else in his shoes, who wouldn't have some temper? Ling Han glanced at the Grand Elder of the Tan clan with a smile, and said, "Yi, old geezer, are you in a bad mood? You're already so old, so don't keep getting angry. What if you suddenly choke in your anger and suddenly die to meet your ancestors?" The Grand Elder of the Tan clan simply closed his eyes. What the eye didn't see, the heart didn't grieve over. When the people in the surrounding area saw this, they couldn't help but be incredibly impressed with Ling Han. What eternal river tear had you seen that would dare speak like this to a heaven demon? Furthermore, he was completely unscathed even after provoking him, forcing the Grand Elder of the Tan clan to swallow his anger. "Young friend, don't change the topic," the heaven demon from the Go clan continued. "We are also very sincere now, so can you continue? You guys really have no sense for entertainment." Ling Han sighed. A bunch of old antiques, putting on stern faces for the whole day, not even smiling a bit. "I even thought your faces were made out of stone." He paused, and then continued, "Fine then, we'll first discuss the matter of my compensation." "What about your compensation? What losses have you experienced?" The heaven demon from the Go clan asked. "Young friend, you don't seem to have had any losses, right?" "How could I not?" Ling Han's expression was angry. "Old man, your eyes are really too faulty, how can you not see this? I was harassed in all manner by those three bastards, suffering great emotional damage. During this time, I didn't even manage a good night of sleep, and don't tell me that this is not a loss." He was an eternal river tear, however. In the first place, he was completely fine even without sleep, and secondly, how could it be that he would be so angered up to this extent just because of a small issue like this? Everyone was speechless. At first, the Grand Elder of the Tan clan only planned to be a spectator, but when he heard these words from Ling Han, he almost exploded in fury. "You suffered emotional damage, then what about the deaths of 3 clansmen from my Tan clan? How is this to be accounted for?" The heaven demon from the Go clan almost bent his nose in fury too. When had he ever experienced being called an old man right in front of his face like this? He took a deep breath, and suppressed his stirring emotions. Only then did he say, "All right, I can decide this matter. I guarantee that it will satisfy you." Ling Han waved them off, and said, "Actually, I am not really a greedy person. As for compensation, it would be enough to just casually give me a dozen saintly medicines." "You were really not greedy, and only demanded 12 saintly medicines." The heaven demon from the Go clan did not know what else to say by now. He opened his mouth, but did not manage to say a single word. This was committing daylight robbery, quoting such a massive compensation that even he did not know how he was supposed to start bargaining. "Impossible," the heaven demon from the Zhong clan declared firmly. "What a joke, a dozen saintly medicines. What did you think saintly medicines were? Even for forbidden lands like theirs, they only grew 1 or 2 saintly medicines, and only managed to harvest them once in tens of millions or even millions and millions of years. Saintly medicines naturally were used for those that needed them the most to break through, or used to heal injuries to great Tao. Throughout these many years, it was natural that most of them had been used up, and it was already impressive for each forbidden land to manage to keep 1 or 2 saintly medicines." Ling Han chuckled, and said, "I already said, I am not a greedy person, so just set the matter of the saintly medicine to one side first. The Tan clan bullied me intolerably. I request for the Grand Elder of the Tan clan to apologize to me." Gasp. Hearing these words, everyone was stunned. "Brat, you were really awesome." The Grand Elder of the Tan clan was a peak stage heaven demon, a top-tier existence in the whole netherworld, an absolutely inarguable big shot, and you actually demanded that he apologize to you. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Putting aside that you were merely an eternal river Tyr, even if the 8 great forbidden lands combined forces to exert pressure, the Grand Elder of the Tan clan might not submit like that, either. How was he going to live in future? What face would he have left to see others? Not a single heaven demon spoke any longer. This implicated the Grand Elder of the Tan clan, and no one else's words would count for anything. Could it be that they could force down the head of the Grand Elder from the Tan clan, and force him to apologize? The Grand Elder of the Tan clan naturally could no longer pretend to be deaf or dumb. He looked at the many big shots here, and forcibly suppressed his fury as he said, "Young man, I can promise you that as long as you hand over the Celestial King technique, the debts with the Tan clan will be written off." When he said these words, his expression appeared malevolent. He very much wanted to kill Ling Han, but he could do nothing about it. At present, Ling Han was calling the shots here, and if he did not compromise at this time, he would become the combined target of the other 8 great forbidden lands. For the sake of the Celestial King technique, he would swallow his fury. Ling Han suddenly stood up, his face filled with anger. "Old man, you are too unreasonable. It was your clansmen that came to harass me and disturb me. I am the victim here. I should be the one to say that the debt is written off. What do you mean by saying that?" The Grand Elder of the Tan clan flew into a thunderous rage, and declared, "Brat, I have tolerated you for a very long time. You are merely being deliberately provoking us here." Ling Han paused, and then grinned. "This intelligence of yours, really? Sigh, how should I put it? Only now can you tell that I am just playing around with you all? You people really are extraordinarily dumb." Sure, all the big shots were angered. When had they ever been tricked before? Moreover, they were all tricked at the same time. Ling Han laughed loudly, and exclaimed, "Don't scare me. I will run away if I am scared." He paused, and then continued, "Old geezer Tan, do you dare fight a duel with me?" A duel. At this, everyone was dumbfounded. A mere eternal river Tyr actually declared that he wanted to duel a demon master. Moreover, this was no ordinary demon master, but a peak stage demon master, a big shot that stood at the apex of the netherworld. Was he seeking death? This brat had just been expressing his pity for the intelligence of others just now, and now it was his intelligence that was in the negative. Yet the Grand Elder of the Tan clan smiled in his extreme fury. What was going on with this world? A mere eternal river Tyr actually dared issue a challenge to him? He humphed, and asked, "What qualifies you to exchange blows with me? Is this enough reason?" Ling Han grinned. "If you defeat me, I will give you the Celestial King technique. As simple as that. How could an eternal river Tyr possibly be any match for a peak stage heaven demon?" This was really just like what he said was giving him the celestial technique. The Grand Elder of the Tan clan hesitated slightly, but immediately nodded. As long as Ling Han did not duck into that celestial tool, he would be able to apprehend the latter. By then, who cared whether he would hand over the Celestial King technique or not? It would no longer be up to him to decide. "All right," he agreed. Chapter 1590, Fighting a Heaven Demon. Chapter 1590, Fighting a Heaven Demon. Not a single big shot spoke up in objection to it. Which one of them would fear Ling Han? They merely did not want him to hide in that celestial tool. Now, since Ling Han wanted to fight, that was equivalent to giving them an opening, allowing them to easily apprehend him. Ouyang Taishan, meanwhile, frowned slightly, but since Ling Han had proposed this, then he naturally had his own reasons, so he did not stop him. The mystery realm opened up. If the Grand Elder of the Tan clan really became serious, the restrictions in this place would not be able to bear his full power. Thus, this battle naturally had to be commenced in the galaxy. This was an empty space that was far away from the sun. Thus, this was an area of complete darkness, filled with dead silence. And in this dead silence, Ling Han and the Grand Elder of the Tan clan stood, facing one another, a distance of about 10 miles between them. "Brat, are you sure you will not hide?" The Grand Elder of the Tan clan asked calmly. He was using his words to spur Ling Han on. What if the latter suddenly ducked into the celestial tool again? He would be able to do nothing. Ling Han smiled faintly. You're just an old wretch I will be able to easily kill with a flip of my hand. What's the point of spouting so much nonsense? Damn brat. The white brow of the Grand Elder of the Tan clan rose, and he showed a strong killing intent. He suddenly moved. Wang, a giant palm of fire grabbed out towards Ling Han, endless seals throbbing within the flames. This was the embodiment of the strongest regulations of the netherworld. Small tower, Ling Han said softly in his mind. Wang, endless power suddenly surged from his body, and his aura abruptly spiked a few 100 million times, thousands of millions times over. In that one moment, he felt that he had become omnipotent. He could create a hole in the heavens themselves with a single palm strike, and would be able to obliterate all life with a single thought. The large hand grabbed out at him, and Ling Han shot out a fist to greet the incoming attack. When the demon masters saw this, they were all surprised. Ling Han really dared to fight the Grand Elder of the Tan clan. This was definitely attempting the impossible. Yi, I feel like that brat's power has spiked an innumerable number of times. That's right, he seems capable of even standing against me. This is inconceivable. In front of their shocked eyes, Ling Han's punch shot out, and that palm from the Grand Elder of the Tan clan was instantly rendered into pieces. Even if those heaven demons previously had expected this, they were still so shocked by this scene that they did not dare to believe what they were seeing with their own eyes. Had this brat ingested a celestial pill? How could it be possible that he had become so many times stronger in a single instant? It had to be the secret technique of the Celestial King. The eyes of the Grand Elder of the Tan clan widened slightly. This result had also far surpassed his expectation. He humphed, and said, "No wonder you had the courage to oppose me, so it seems that you have the backing of a Celestial King's secret technique." He couldn't help but be incredibly envious. This kind of secret technique allowed Ling Han to directly leap from the high extreme of the Eternal River tier to the peak stage of the Heaven Demon. If it was his, then just how much stronger would he become? Would he then be able to directly tear a rip into space and enter into the celestial realm? With this thought, his greed went out of control. What strong power! Ling Han stretched out his limbs, and was a little infatuated with this feeling of power. Too bad, this presently did not belong to him, but he believed he would possess such strength in the foreseeable future. Old geezer, I will send you on your way. He rushed up with his bare hands, but at present, his power was too strong. He was the only person in the whole netherworld that could grasp the regulations of the two realms at the same time, and this kind of strength would be able to overwhelm any demon master or saint king. In the galaxy, the two elites battled fiercely, but there was no doubt about it. The Grand Elder of the Tan clan was completely being suppressed, and was absolutely at a disadvantage. This brat is actually strong to this extent. This is inconceivable. Though old Geezer Tan is not the strongest among peak stage demon masters, it is enough to rank him in around the top 10. If anyone was able to suppress old Geezer Tan like this, it would probably only be the 2 or 3 people whose battle prowess is the strongest. However, it is definitely impossible that such strength could be maintained constantly, or the hierarchy would have lost its meaning of existence. When this brat's strength is completely expended, we can attack together when he least expects it, and apprehend him with a single move. The big shots were all communicating through their divine senses. Aside from the limited few that were comprised of Ouyang Taishan and his companions, all of them were eyeing Ling Han covetously. It couldn't be helped. Who would not be tempted by a Celestial King technique? Even Ouyang Taishan was tempted, but he had stronger principles. Not good, old Geezer Tan is close to his limit. Attack together. Another several hundred moves later, the Grand Elder of the Tan clan was already in a perilous situation, and it was possible that he would be heavily injured at any time. This caused all the big shots to become restless, and they all made their move, intending to suppress Ling Han. Humph, you all are too shameless. Ouyang Taishan also made his move, but his attack was not directed at Ling Han. Instead, he was directing his attack at his erstwhile allies. Ling Han, don't be brave for this moment only to regret it later, leave quickly. He could guess that this strength of Ling Han was definitely only momentary. Otherwise, the hierarchy of cultivation would have lost its meaning. But those two big shots that had been with Ouyang Taishan did not make a move. They chose to stand by and watch them. Not attacking was already giving face to Ouyang Taishan. Ling Han's eyes swept over them, and saw the expressions on all their faces. This would decide how he would deal with these people in future. "Old geezers, are you guys tired of living?" he asked darkly. "Brat, there is no way you will be able to escape. Hand over the Celestial King technique, and we can spare your life," the Heaven Demon of the Yi clan called out loudly, but his punch had already arrived without any reservations. There was no need to leave him alive, they only needed to pluck out his soul. Furthermore, they would only be able to trust him completely through plucking out his soul. In a matter that concerned the Celestial King technique, who would believe Ling Han's words? What if there was the slightest mistake in the celestial technique? Then the result of cultivating it could possibly be being driven mad, and completely burnt to nothing by Great Tao. Since that is the case, I will send you all on your way. Ling Han emitted a battle cry. This time, he would not hold anything back. Indeed, he had not done his best previously. Otherwise, how could it be that the Grand Elder of the Tan clan would be able to hold up for so many moves? He wanted to see the choice that every person made, and that was why he had deliberately drawn things out. And now, he was about to start a massacre. Die. With a tremor from his hands, his left hand held the broken wooden sword, while his right hand gripped the divine demon sword, and he charged out towards the heaven demons. Shua, 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 sword chi danced unhindered. Wang, the two divine swords were completely activated, multiple seals appearing on them, releasing brilliant light. They were drawing on Great Tao, and were incredibly powerful. At this time, the broken wooden sword was stronger. This was a level 20 demonic tool, and with Ling Han's present power, he could completely activate its full might. On the other hand, the divine demon sword was only level 17 at present, so its might was considerably weaker. However, if the divine demon sword hit any of their vital points, even severing mundane ancestors would die, what more heaven demons? This was a future celestial tool, its destructive power was definitely impressive. Ling Han was like a fierce tiger that had charged into a flock of sheep. As he brandished the two divine swords, there was no one that could face him head-on. They all fled in all directions. Darkness of the paramount night. Ling Han channeled the celestial technique. Hong, endless darkness spread out, enshrouding all the demon masters. Going along with Ling Han's burst of cultivation level, the might of darkness of the paramount night was naturally also boosted, and had strong effects even on heaven demons. The lightning sword technique was used. Ling Han did not need to care about whom he was currently facing, there was only one word for it: kill. Chapter 1591, Killed. Chapter 1591, Killed. In the darkness, even the heaven demons felt that their senses were greatly affected. They could not see, hear, or sense anything that was more than 30 meters away from them. This was inconceivable. For those that had reached their level, they only needed to release their divine sense, and they would be able to even accommodate a whole planet in the range of their senses. And now, all of a sudden, their senses were restricted to a diameter of around 30 meters, which naturally was something that they had difficulty to adapt to. There was nothing they could do about it. So what if they were peak stage heaven demons? They had only grasped the regulations of the netherworld, so how could they possibly be a match for the present Ling Han? This was being overwhelmed by his superiority in regulations. Ling Han brandished the two swords like a 1,000-armed guardian deity. Sword chi danced unhindered, and blood spurted in all directions. He was too strong. His individual battle prowess was enough to overwhelm even peak-stage heaven demons, and only the 10 strongest big shots combining forces would be able to stop his progress at the minimum, but now that they were being enshrouded by the darkness, what combining forces? Easier said than done. This created a massive opening for Ling Han, allowing him to attack freely as he desired. Pu, 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 Pu. One after another, heads flew. They were all the strongest beings of the current era. There were earth demons and black demons among them. However, yellow demons did not even have the right to participate, so they'd managed to avoid this calamity. And whether it was being beheaded by the divine demon sword or the broken wooden sword, that would be a fatal blow. It was guaranteed that not even their spirits would be able to flee, as they would be destroyed. A bunch of liars who uphold a false reputation, Ling Han uttered coldly, and the divine demon's sword in his right hand slashed out. Another earth demon was killed, blood spraying out. He did not dodge. Bathing in the divine blood made his killing intent blaze even further. I kindly agreed to help you all merge the two realms, and gave you all a chance to become celestial beings, and this is your repayment to me. Could it be that you all think that I am made of clay, and will allow you to knead and shape as you wish? This is the choice you have made, so you should now suffer the consequences of your actions. Pu, pu, pu. Another several heads were sent flying. Retreat, a heaven demon shouted loudly. Those below heaven demon, all of you retreat, you are merely going to your deaths this way. Run. All the heaven demons felt heartache. These earth demons and black demons were all the pillars of strength of their clans, the future grand elders. And if they could open the doors to the celestial realm, then these people could possibly have a chance of becoming severing mundane ancestors. Watching them killed like they were mere vegetables being harvested, they were enraged yet helpless. In this complete darkness, their reaction speed was innumerable times slower than usual. They could only dispel the attacks directed towards themselves. How could they manage to dispel the attacks directed towards the others in the nick of time? The other demon masters hurriedly fled, but just how much weaker were they as compared to the present Ling Han? They were clearly running in one direction, but no matter how much they ran, they could not run out of this darkness, because their senses had practically lost all significance in this place. They were completely incapable of confirming if they really were running in a straight line. All the heaven demons were also helpless. The present Ling Han's power was seriously superior to theirs, and they were not able to dispel the darkness in their surroundings at all. They could only be very submissive in this battle. Ling Han, meanwhile, was bathing in the divine blood, the murderous aura bursting forth from his whole body. At this time, he could already fully control the broken wooden sword, making it seem as if this demonic tool had turned into a black demonic dragon, exuding endless demonic chi. One man stood there indomitably, wielding two swords. Even the heaven demons were all rendered speechless. They only felt like they really had created a massive problem, actually becoming enemies with such a freak. If they had known this would happen, why not cooperate peacefully, and merge the two realms? Then everyone would have a chance of becoming a celestial being. Now, it was great. It was a question whether they would even be able to survive this, what more becoming celestial beings. Now that things have come to this, there is no way out, the heaven demon of the Zhong clan declared coldly. All of you, use your ultimate attacks. Today, if we are unable to kill this brat, he will become an endless problem. All the heaven demons nodded coldly. Even if Ling Han could only use this kind of celestial technique once, that guy had a celestial tool, and it meant that he was invincible. Furthermore, how could it be that this boy's cultivation level would not improve further? Once Ling Han, too, broke through to the Genesis tier, his battle prowess would naturally be stronger than that of other demon masters and saints. Who asked him to be capable of merging the regulations of the two realms? This kind of enemy was definitely a deadly problem. Boom, boom, boom. All the heaven demons began to burn their life force, sparing no expense. Of course, they only burnt a sliver of it, increasing their battle prowess to a limited extent. After all, they still had the advantage in numbers. There were so many heaven demons here, and they were the strongest power of the netherworld. Ling Han had clearly evaded them all this while because he was not confident that he could defeat all of them. Now, they were igniting their life force to boost their battle prowess further, which would be enough to suppress him. Boom. These heaven demons were all blowing out continuously, and the darkness was forcibly blown away, returning this place to more or less normal condition. All of the heaven demons had the regulations of great Tao entwined around their bodies, innumerable stars that took the form of Tao manifestations thousands of meters tall encircling them, being insufferably arrogant. They were going all out. Ling Han sneered, "Now it's time for me to send you all on your way. In your dreams." All the heaven demons smirked coldly, moving out to press their hands on Ling Han. In their tumultuous rage, and adding their battle prowess that was blazing to the maximum, their present might was too frightening. One palm strike from them, and they would be able to shatter a great star. The strongest power of the netherworld. Ling Han smiled faintly, and said, "Do you all think that this is my strongest battle prowess?" He opened his mouth, and spat out a flame. 9 great ancestral flames, one of the 9 great ancestral flames of the celestial realm. What? All the heaven demons paled in shock. Even their Tao manifestations were trembling. They only felt that this flame was too frightening. The slightest contact with it, and they would be burnt to ashes. There was definitely no other possible result. What kind of fire was this? Why was it so terrifying? Ling Han used the 9 heavens flame. This was an immortal flame, though it had not truly matured yet. Otherwise, this was an existence that was equal to a celestial king. Beneath celestial king, who would not die upon contact with it. At present, Ling Han temporarily possessed the cultivation of the consummate level of the Genesis tier, and the might bursting from the 9 heavens flame had also reached the peak of the netherworld, and was even close to the celestial level. This was Ling Han's true fatal weapon. With a flick of Ling Han's finger, multiple finger-like flames shot out, blasting out towards those heaven demons. All the heaven demons hurriedly scampered away. This flame was not something that they could hold up against. They were completely on a different level from it. Run, the heaven demon from the Go clan squeezed out through clenched teeth. There was no longer any significance to continuing the battle. Chapter 1592, Complete Slaughter. Chapter 1592, Complete Slaughter. The prison of flames began to close in. All the heaven demons looked livid. They did not dare to actually touch these flames. Though the seals of Great Tao throbbing on them were badly damaged, their qualitative level overwhelmed the Genesis tier an unknown number of times. They definitely could not be touched. But the prison was closing in, and if they did not think of something, the flames would eventually burn them and turn them into ashes. Kill this brat. At least we have to force him into the celestial tool, and then the attack will vanish without being dispelled. Attack will always be the best defense. The heaven demons all looked towards Ling Han, seething with killing intent. Ling Han stood proudly, the 2 swords lowered at either side of him, exuding a frightening killing intent. If you're complaining about not dying fast enough, you can come over, and I will personally send you all on your way, savage. You are just depending on a celestial tool. If you had not had this good fortune, I would have been able to kill you over 100 times with a single thought. All the heaven demons were fuming mad, and began to attack Ling Han like mad. Ling Han spun both swords in his hands, and held them in defense in front of him. Just as Small Tower had said, his limit was fighting 10 peak stage heaven demons at the same time. Now, though the number of peak stage heaven demons had not reached as many as 10, there were still heaven demons at the early stage, middle stage, and late stage, and using their numbers to compensate, their battle prowess was still astonishing. This was not something that he could stand against. However, Ling Han did not step back. He rapidly brandished the 2 swords to battle all the heaven demons, and the fiery prison was rapidly closing in as well. Once it completely closed in, all the heaven demons would be wiped out in one go. However, the opposite was also true. As long as the heaven demons managed to kill him, or force him into the Black Tower, the might of the 9 heavens flame would naturally also be removed. Now that things had come to this, all the heaven demons were naturally putting their lives on the line, and burning their life force with no regard for the consequences. Their attacks blasted at Ling Han like mad. This was a situation in which either he would die or it would be they that would be dying. The situation suddenly became incredibly desperate. Everyone was watching dumbfounded. Who would have thought that a situation that was originally just a farce would suddenly develop to this extent? The 3 big shots, Lung Xiaoran, Ouyang He, and Go Hai, were all dumbstruck. They were in the lead of their peers, and were the first among them to become demon masters. Initially, they could claim to be the strongest prodigies, but now, compared with Ling Han, they were far from adequate. In that short while just now, just how many demon masters had he killed? More than 100. And they weren't yellow demons, but black demons, and even earth demons. Moreover, looking at the rate he was going, it seemed as if even heaven demons could be killed by his hand. He could slaughter 20 to 30 of them in one go, and this was definitely something that had never happened before in history, and was likely never going to happen again in future. Now that he had reached this kind of height, as long as they did not want to battle to the death, even heaven demons would find it very difficult to leave a yellow demon alive, what more when it was a bunch of heaven demons. However, an absolutely impossible feat had still happened. The most frightening massacre in the cultivation world was about to play out, and this would affect the many future generations. Kill, kill, kill. All the heaven demons had gone mad. The web of flames had already closed in for less than 30 meters, and in 1 or 2 breaths at most, they would be burned by the immortal flame, turning into ashes. Boom, boom, boom. Powerful attacks blasted out like crazy, and it seemed as if the universe itself was about to explode. Over 20 heaven demons were fighting with their lives on the line at the same time, and they didn't even care if they wounded their own allies. They only asked that they could show their full battle prowess. Peng, peng, peng. Ling Han was repeatedly hit. At present, though his cultivation level had temporarily reached the consummate level of the Genesis tier, the strength of his physique had not caught up with that level. How could he possibly sustain so many desperate attacks from so many heaven demons? His godly bones were shattered, and he instantly became a figure of blood, making for an extremely tragic scene. Haha, he's definitely about to die. He actually did not dodge, and deluded himself into thinking that he can slaughter us. When we achieved Tao, even your ancestors were nowhere to be found. What wishful thinking. We will send you on your way. All the demon masters were elated, and hurriedly picked up the pace in their attacks, wanting to kill Ling Han. The circumstances changed rapidly in a single instant, and it was a feast for everyone's eyes. Just now, it seemed as if it was Ling Han who would be slaughtering all the heaven demons, and make his own mark in history, but in the blink of an eye, it was now he that was at the end of his line. In the end, what would the conclusion be? Peng, 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 peng. Attacks fell like rain, illuminating the whole galaxy, causing this initially dark corner to become incredibly bright as if there were a few dozen suns exploding in this place. Though Ling Han tried his best to parry the attacks, and even killed a few heaven demons, he couldn't hold up to the fact that there were really too many heaven demons. One attack from each of them was enough to drown him in the barrage of attacks. He was throwing up blood like mad, his body completely misshapen. After a frightening sword light swept over him, his head was removed, and exploded with a bang. Even his spirit had been erased. We killed him. When the demon masters saw this, they were instantly overjoyed. With their abilities, they naturally could tell whether someone had died or was still alive. Unfortunately, his spirit has directly exploded, and we were not able to obtain his memories through plucking out his soul. The Celestial King technique. They all cried out. After sacrificing so much, in the end, they still didn't manage to obtain the Celestial King technique. How could they accept that? No, the heaven demon from the Lung clan suddenly exclaimed in shock. Why has this prison of flames not vanished? Going by reason, with Ling Han's death, his technique naturally would completely disappear as well. This brat is not dead yet. All the heaven demons' faces turned pale. He was not dead even when his spirit had been shattered. Boom. A flame waved, exuding a frighteningly high temperature. It seemed capable of melting even divine metal. This might was not inferior in the slightest to the 9 heavens flame, and among the flames, a human figure was presently rapidly forming from nothing. The flames waved, and a young man walked out. There were still flames burning on his body, yet they did not wound him at all. It was none other than Ling Han, rising from the ashes, one of his strongest trump cards. Impossible. Now, even the heaven demons could not accept this. A person whose form and spirit had both been destroyed actually came back to life. Was there any justice left in this world? Yet, they no longer had the time to be surprised. The web of flames had completely closed in. Even if they were heaven demons, so what? Having the 9 heavens flame burn their bodies, they immediately erupted in cries of agony. This was an immortal flame, and the slightest touch could burn both the form and spirit. Boom. The immortal flame was merciless, and treated all the heaven demons like fuel, burning them to nothing. Some heaven demons gritted their teeth and cast off their physical bodies, but it was no use. The immortal flame soared to the skies and embroiled even their spirits. More than 20 heaven demons did not struggle for very long, and were very quickly burned into dust, completely vanishing in this heaven and earth. The heaven and earth shared the grief, which led to a rain of blood. Ling Han stood eminently. That image of his black locks dancing in the breeze, both hands wielding swords, was forever imprinted into everyone's hearts. He had killed over 100 demon masters in a single battle, and furthermore, there were even more than 20 heaven demons among them, creating an unprecedented feat in the recorded history of the Netherworld. There had never been anyone that could be strong to this extent. Ling Han's eyes swept over the surroundings, and there was no one that dared make eye contact with him. They all lowered their heads. It was unknown who was the first, but everyone knelt down on a single knee, as if they were worshipping a god of war. Ling Han did not commit any more bloodshed. Those that remained were more or less ants to him. If they sought him out for vengeance in future, he would deal with them then. Chapter 1593 Void Flower. Chapter 1593 Void Flower. A day later, the effects of the power boost from the Black Tower vanished. Ling Han steered the cloud-piercing shuttle and set out. He was going back to the immortal realm. Before he left, he had a very long conversation with Ouyang Taishan. This respectable elder shared a large amount of experience with him, and there were some things that were very, very useful. For example, why did some prodigies form 2 million, or even 3 million stars, yet still did not break through to the next level? Those like Mo Li and Zhu Ba did not have the ability. It was not because they did not want to. However, for the prodigies of the Forbidden Lands, those that could cultivate to the pinnacle level of the Eternal River tier would definitely be juniors with extremely pure bloodlines, and absolutely could take that crucial step with the aid of their bloodlines. The reason why they had formed 2 million or even 3 million stars was because of a legend. If one could form 10 million stars, and then break through to the Genesis tier, they would gain the approval of the heaven and earth, and obtain unique rewards. After advancing to the Severing Mundane tier, their power would be exceptional, far surpassing their peers. And to these people from the immortal realm and netherworld, forming 10 million stars before breaking through had another benefit, and that was being able to merge the regulations of the two realms. Of course, this was only a legend. Some also said that this was the true pinnacle level of the Eternal River tier. The reason why this legend was a legend was because there had never been anyone that had formed 10 million stars in the Eternal River tier. Even the prodigies of the Forbidden Lands had not accomplished this. Perhaps there were innumerable geniuses in the celestial realm that could do so, but there were definitely none in the immortal realm and netherworld. Going by Ouyang Taishan's opinion, he hoped that Ling Han could restrain himself for a while, and hold back from breaking through to the Genesis tier so quickly. Instead, he should attempt to break through to the legendary pinnacle level as much as possible. Ling Han would definitely be able to enter into the celestial realm. Thus, it would no longer be enough for him to sweep aside all opposition from the prodigies of the netherworld and immortal realm. He needed to make requirements of himself with the standards of the celestial realm, or he would only be called a prodigy in the celestial realm, at most, and would not be able to become the king tier of a generation. This caused Ling Han to be at a loss. Since he was allowed to know this fact, he definitely would attempt the pinnacle level of 10 million stars, but what about the Empress? At first, 1 million stars would be enough for her to break through, and they would be able to be together from then, and do some things that both of them enjoyed and anticipated. But if they needed to attempt 10 million stars, then the time for breaking through to the Genesis tier would definitely have to be pushed back further. Sigh, for the future of my wife, I'll just have to delay it further. Ling Han sighed. No matter what, she is my wife. Once she missed out on the pinnacle level, that would be a matter that would affect her whole life. Especially when the elites of the celestial realm were completely immortal, as the effects would be even larger. The Empress was an exceptional divine fetus, and cultivated a celestial king technique. Reaching the true pinnacle level of the Eternal River tier should be highly possible for her. As for the heavenly phoenix divine maiden, there was no need to even consider this problem. Ling Han discussed this with the Empress, and the two of them agreed to attempt the true pinnacle level of the eternal river tier. The heavenly phoenix divine maiden, meanwhile, was resolute on her own stand. Her target was advancing into the Genesis tier as soon as possible. Since Ling Han and the Empress were both attempting the pinnacle level of the eternal river tier, who knew, she might be able to surpass them, and become the first person among them to break through to the Genesis tier. The cloud-piercing shuttle headed towards Sea Space Planet. Since they were planning to leave the Netherworld, he wanted to first let the Hysteria Demon Master and Overlord Sword Demon Master know. Previously, they had both stepped forward bravely for him. Moreover, he was planning to go back the way he had come, and would definitely be passing by Sea Space Planet anyways. Previously, Ouyang Taishan had brought him along, and they had traveled too quickly. If it was traveling via the cloud-piercing shuttle, the journey would need more or less half a year's time. And this was still because the cloud-piercing shuttle had been upgraded by Hu Niu, or the time spent would be 100-fold. After setting the galactic coordinates, there was actually no need for manual control. Thus, Ling Han and his wives basically just stayed in the Black Tower, taking alchemical pills, and comprehended Tao beneath the reincarnation tree, allowing their cultivation level to soar all the way. Every once in a while, Ling Han would still come out to check the situation. Because there were galactic pirates, a galactic journey was not really a very peaceful affair. After about 4 months, when Ling Han exited the Black Tower, he couldn't help but feel surprised. Ahead of them, there was an indescribably colossal flower. It was not just indescribably huge, but even its color could not be described. At least Ling Han did not know what kind of color he could use to describe it. But it was clearly extremely huge, yet it was as if it did not exist at all, and it looked incredibly bizarre. What kind of flower is this? Ling Han searched through his mind, but among the basic medicinal ingredients of the immortal realm, there was none that matched it. He began to make his deductions, and thought about any new species that could be formed through the grafting of different medicinal ingredients. As long as one had a grasp of the basic pharmacology, he would be able to deduce everything. However, Ling Han was still unable to speculate what would grow to look like this after which medicinal ingredients had been grafted together. This was not because the Netherworld and Immortal Realm were different. In fact, these two realms were originally the same, but because of the change of regulations, it was just that some godly medicine could not grow in the Netherworld, and some could not grow in the Immortal Realm. Hiss, could it be that this is celestial medicine? Ling Han's heart shook. Though this thought was a little ridiculous, it was not absolutely impossible, because hadn't he, too, obtained a reincarnation tree? Small tower, come and see. Do you know what kind of species this is? Ling Han asked. Void flower, Small tower immediately replied. This is a celestial flower, but only grows in the cracks of space, so it is not a strange thing for it to appear in the Netherworld. Ling Han couldn't help but feel slightly excited. Celestial flower? Are you talking about the kind of celestial flower that will allow you to immediately become a celestial being upon consumption? Small tower couldn't help but disdainfully retort, in your dreams. There are a great many varieties of celestial flowers, but there are practically none that would directly increase your cultivation level. A so-called celestial flower is nurtured by certain supreme regulations of the celestial realm. Thus, upon consumption, you would be able to comprehend this kind of regulations with it, and there is a chance that you would be able to grasp it. Void flower should be corresponding to the regulations of space. If you are able to grasp it, you will be able to control space even in the celestial realm. Even in the celestial realm, this is a precious treasure. Even a celestial king would probably be interested. Ling Han's eyes shone. Then I definitely have to get my hands on it. Ho ho. Small tower released a laugh to express its objection. It was beginning to act proud again. The void flower contains the regulations of space. You can see it now, but who knows how far away you are from it? Who knows, maybe by the time you have traveled half the way to it, the celestial flower would already have been plucked by another. Will you die if you don't attack me? Ling Han asked in displeasure. He adjusted the course of the cloud-piercing shuttle slightly. Ho ho. Small tower still maintained a half-dead attitude. Xiao, the cloud-piercing shuttle changed direction, and set out in pursuit of the void flower. One day, 2 days, 3 days, 1 month, 2 months. Just like Small Tower had said, this void flower contained the regulations of space. It could be seen from all sides, but in truth, there was an unknown distance separating them. Even Ling Han felt like wanting to give up. He didn't know how long it would take for him to reach it. However, he had already spent 2 months, so he was unwilling to just give up at this time. Thus, he continued his pursuit. Another month later, the space suddenly became extremely strange. He was clearly advancing forwards, but after a short while, he actually realized that he had turned around at some unknown time, and was going back the way he had come. Ling Han was not shocked, but instead felt delighted. Since a strange change had taken place in the space, it meant that he was truly coming closer to the void flower. Chapter 1594, Close at Hand. Chapter 1594, Close at Hand. In this place, space was shaped and overlapped, which was extremely strange. Every step Ling Han took forwards could possibly mean that he would be forced to take 3 steps back. It was possible that every step he took backwards would mean taking 10 steps forwards. In this place, vision and divine sense had both lost their meaning, and there was a very strong deceptive quality about it. Only if you have grasped the regulations of space would you be able to possibly find a shortcut, Small Tower said. As for you, you can only spend your time on probing slowly. Furthermore, even if you have found a conclusive pattern in the end, the void flower only needs to make a slight change, and you will have to start back from the beginning. In the celestial realm, celestial kings that have grasped the regulations of time and space are the hardest to deal with. Small Tower was suddenly in high spirits, and took the initiative to explain. However, this kind of celestial king is only troublesome. If one encounters a celestial king that has cultivated the regulations of massacre, then that would possibly be even more unfortunate. With a thought, both your bones and body would be destroyed. Merely in terms of battle prowess, massacre celestial kings could even battle stronger opponents. There was once a massacre celestial king of the 4th heaven that has killed a celestial king of the 5th heaven. However, if one has reached the 9th heaven, then there is no difference whatever regulations one has cultivated. They are all standing at the apex of celestial Tao, so there are no weaker or stronger regulations. The only deciding factor would be the level of grasp over regulations that every celestial king has. Ling Han paused, and asked, "Have you eaten something wrong today? Why have you become such a chatterbox? I can't bother with you." Small Tower humphed proudly, and ignored Ling Han. It was too bad that Hunyo was not here. This girl seemed to be born with a compass, and there was never any need to worry about getting lost with her around. Ling Han had the Empress come out. Firstly, the Empress was a divine fetus, and perhaps had an inconceivable ability, and secondly, he was also bored. Sharing some loving moments while embracing the Empress was better than him sitting around all by his lonesome, after all. Moreover, the Empress had 9 doppelgangers. Her main body coming out to accompany him would only mean wasting 1/10 of the time used for cultivation. Void flower. The Empress was also stunned. She vaguely knew of some matters of the celestial realm, which came from her bloodline memories, and added with the fact that she had refined Jiyu Daoi's divine fetus, her understanding of the celestial realm was in truth much higher than Ling Han's. Some regulations are especially difficult to cultivate, such as time, space, massacre, and darkness, because these regulations are not visible in the world, so you would not know where to start to grasp these regulations. You could only hope to grasp them through consuming some specific celestial medicine. Before reaching the 9 heavens of Celestial King, space is definitely one of the strongest regulations. Ling Han nodded. Then I definitely have to obtain this void flower. The two of them cooperated, and spread out their divine sense to sense the changes in the space, slowly progressing in their advance. This was also because their power was insufficient. Otherwise, even if the overlapping space here was even more complicated, so what? They would be able to destroy it with a single blow, and forcibly create a new path. Too bad, they were not celestial beings, so how could they possibly oppose the space that the celestial medicine had disturbed? Thankfully, the two of them were prodigies among prodigies, and with their joint efforts, they still greatly increased the rate of their advance. However, They feared that it would be like what Small Tower had said. If the void flower suddenly changed the regulations of space, then they would have to start back from the beginning. After a few days, a golden pathway spread out. A demon master had arrived. This void flower was too obvious, and even if there were a few galaxies separating them, one would still be able to see it clearly. It would be the real strange thing if it did not draw out a few demon masters. That was a man that looked to be only in his 50s, and he appeared to be very formidable. He didn't even cast another look at the cloud-piercing shuttle. Without entering into the Genesis tier, how could they possibly draw his notice? He, too, spread out his divine sense, wanting to find a path in this complicated space. Ling Han was unafraid of this demon master, not because he still had 2 chances for a power boost, but rather because the space here was too complex. Even if it looked like they were only a dozen over miles away, it was highly possible that a demon master would have to circle around for a few years before he finally reached them. The mystical power of space would cause anyone to exclaim in surprise. Ling Han couldn't help but be greatly interested. If he could grasp the regulations of space, then when the attacks of others were directed at him, he could directly shift them to another place, or even redirect them back at his opponents. And if he attacked, he could instantly breach the distance of space. Then, it would perhaps be possible for him to kill someone even if he was in another galaxy. Too bad the regulations of space were not something that you could directly grasp through observing the heaven and earth, and had to be grasped through consuming celestial medicine. Wang. Multiple golden paths materialized as more and more demon masters had arrived. Clearly, they were all interested in this celestial flower. Another month later, Ling Han suddenly discovered that a flower that was only about a foot tall had appeared in front of him, and had the same appearance as that void flower that towered to the skies. It looked colored, yet seemed to be absent of color at the same time. It was clearly so empty that it looked like it did not exist, yet it was brightly colored and indescribably beautiful at the same time. The true body of the void flower, that flower that brightened the skies and was endlessly colossal, was only an image that the void flower had produced as a reflection through space. There was merely about a mile's distance, and the space surrounding the celestial flower was unstable and collapsing. It was possible that a black hole could form at any time. The void flower could be seen, which meant that it had grown fully, and had bloomed brilliantly, which would be followed by wilting. This kind of celestial flower would not produce seeds at all. It was born directly from the regulations of heaven and earth. Even a supreme celestial king would not be able to grow it. It was not just Ling Han. Those demon masters also appeared in the proximity, all their eyes burning. Aside from Ling Han and the Empress, there should be nobody else that knew of the origins of the void flower, yet everyone could deduce that this flower was extraordinary, so they naturally would use all their methods to snatch it. "If you don't want to die, scram," a demon master exclaimed coldly, using divine sense to communicate his will. At the same time, he showed his cultivation level appropriately. Black demon. With this exhibition of power, 1/3 of the people immediately turned around and left. A black demon was too strong, and they were completely no match for him. That was merely a saintly medicine, after all, and starting a fight with a black demon for it was too unwise. This naturally was because they did not know that the void flower was a celestial flower, or they would definitely make an attempt. "Humph, if I encounter the rest, do not blame me for being merciless," that black demon declared coldly. That is the Desolate Cloud's demon master of Grand Planet. Even among black demons, he is a big shot. However, the space here overlaps, and being close at hand may mean the other end of the universe. He may not be the first to obtain the saintly medicine. A great many demon masters refused to be misled. Though there were still a few yellow demons among them, there was not much difference in terms of speed between demon masters. Thus, the first to get the saintly medicine could completely turn around and leave. A competition for a treasure was naturally using all the means they each had at their disposal. If it was definite that the strongest person would be the one to succeed, then why would there be so many people entering to compete for treasures whenever an ancient site opened up? Ling Han was also unperturbed. For the sake of a celestial medicine, it was completely worth it even if he had to use a power boost from the Black Tower. "Yee, how lucky, I just happened to set out, and I actually encountered a void flower. A voice rang out. Another dazzling young man appeared here. He was dressed in white cotton, and appeared very plain and simple, but one only had to look at the multiple seals glowing on the cotton robes to know that this clothing was a precious treasure. Chapter 1595, Han Chi. Chapter 1595, Han Chi. It was a young man, acting as if there was no one else there. He behaved as if this celestial flower was already his. Yet Ling Han was shocked. The speaker might have spoken unconsciously, but it sparked an interest in the listener. The void flower was a celestial variety, and only those from the celestial realm would know its exact name. Even in the Forbidden Lands there should be very, very few people that knew it. This kind of celestial flower was too rare. So many years had passed. Would there still be information about it left in the records of the Forbidden Lands? This person originated from the celestial realm. This was a more possible deduction, but this person was clearly only in the Genesis tier, yet could come from the celestial realm, which meant that there had to be a powerful force backing him. Otherwise, he could not have possibly come here. However, why had someone from the celestial realm come here? Ling Han had once possessed the power of the true consummate level of the Genesis tier, so he could clearly sense that this young man was not a demon master, nor was he a saint. Instead, he was both a true Genesis tier. A considerable number of demon masters turned to look at that young man. This person was very arrogant, behaving as if there was no one else here, but he was also very young. Being able to become a demon master at this age was extremely extraordinary. This young man swept an eye over the masses, and did not speak, but there was a strong contempt in his eyes. That kind of superiority far surpassed even those from the Forbidden Lands, which allowed Ling Han to completely confirm that he had definitely come from the celestial realm. Ho ho, even a bunch of trash dares to compete with me over a celestial item? The young man shook his head, showing a grin. My name is Han Chi, and as for where I come from, you all are not qualified to know. You all only need to know that I am far above all of you, and should only be worshipped. Get lost immediately, or you all would be killed without mercy. He said the words that the Desolate Clouds Demon Master had said before, yet this time, the Desolate Clouds Demon Master also became a target of disdain, which caused this black demon to involuntarily humph coldly. But there was space separating them. Even if there was seemingly just a gap of a few hundred meters between them, it was possible that the actual distance could be several billion miles. Even if he made a move, he would not be able to wound the other. Just wait and see. Everyone was saying the same line internally. They naturally would not take such a young man seriously, and thought that even if the latter had advanced into the Genesis tier, he should only be a yellow demon at most. They all advanced forwards, heading towards that void flower. Ling Han and Empress Luan Xing, too, stepped out of the cloud-piercing shuttle. Speed was not a problem here, so there was no longer any need for the cloud-piercing shuttle. On the other hand, if they were in a flight god tool, it would affect the spreading of their divine sense. In the instant the Empress appeared, even the dark universe seemed to have brightened considerably. Everyone couldn't help but be drawn by the Empress's extraordinary beauty and incomparable grace, without exceptions. Han Chi, too, could not help taking a few looks. He withdrew his gaze, but then looked at her again, his face revealing a stunned expression. Such extraordinary beauty was the first he had seen in his life. His heart throbbed wildly, and he made his decision as well. This kind of beautiful woman should belong to him. He had obtained a celestial medicine as well as an exceptional beauty. He had initially thought the clan sending him out to this primitive land for a training trip was a tough task, but had not thought it would lead to him having such great fortune. The void celestial flower was incredibly valuable even in the celestial realm, and he probably would not be able to find another that could match such a beauty even in the celestial realm. Everyone was trying their best to advance, but in front of this bizarre space, not one person really managed to stand out from the rest. Even celestial level was not able to advance forwards, so there naturally was none that had any kind of advantage. It was clear that there was only about a mile of distance left, which could easily be breached with a casual step, but another 4 days later, they had only advanced about 300 meters. The closer they were to the void flower, the more the space here overlapped. Yet, after another 300 meters, everyone felt their divine sense relax. There was no longer a feeling of being restricted or awkwardness. The space had returned to normal. The void flower swayed gently. It clearly did not release any kind of smell, but everyone felt as if they smelt a fragrance that seeped into their noses, relaxing both their hearts and spirits. Just anyone thinks he can come here. A demon master swept an eye over Ling Han and the Empress, the corner of his lips expressing contempt. However, he then said, "You two just wait on the sidelines and watch. I will be able to guarantee your safety." He had been attracted by the Empress's exceptional grace. Thus, he had said such words. Otherwise, it was absolutely impossible for him to be such a busybody. The other demon masters only smiled faintly, and did not say much else. The Empress's beauty made their hearts that they had long sealed away, and in which only remained the desire to pursue the apex of cultivation, restless. Even if they had not said the words that demon master had said, they, too, would be careful when they moved. They would definitely avoid wounding her. Yet Han Chi's face was filled with disdain, and he exclaimed, "All of you, scram. You're just mere ruffians, and you all dare to compete with me over an opportunity. Young man, you are too arrogant," the Desolate Cloud's demon master rebuked coldly. "You are courting death." Han Chi tapped out a finger. There was no earth-shattering scene. Instead, only a blood-colored light flew out, yet its speed was quick to the extreme. It had just been shot out when it already arrived in front of the Desolate Cloud's demon master. The bloody light directly penetrated the Desolate Cloud's demon master's forehead, and then flew out from the back of his head. A spurt of blood sprayed out, and the eyes of this demon master immediately dimmed, his vitality dispersing. There was no gravity in space. He still maintained his standing posture, yet his limbs were weakly drooping down. An air of grief diffused in the heaven and earth, and rain of droplets of blood streamed, feeling pity for the passing of a demon master. Everyone was startled at first, which was followed by great shock. That was a black demon, and he had actually been insta-killed by a ridiculously young man. This was like the stuff of dreams, causing them to all doubt their eyes. Had they fallen into an illusion? "I told you guys to scram, and you didn't, then don't blame me for starting a massacre," Han Chi stated coldly. Hong, he released his own aura without reservation. It was indescribably terrifying, like a landslide or a tsunami. "Heaven demon," a demon master uttered in a trembling voice, filled with fear. Initially, even yellow demons needed not fear a heaven demon too much, because everyone's speed was about the same. "Even if I was no match for you, I would still be able to flee, right? And if you pushed me too far, I would target your descendants, friends, and disciples. Even a heaven demon would feel much of a headache. Thus, unless they were determined to kill the other, even heaven demons would give some face to yellow demons. After all, they were almighty figures that stood at the Genesis tier. But the situation now was different. The space here overlapped, and coming here would already take a lot of time. If they returned, it would take a similar amount of time, which was enough to allow a heaven demon to calmly and easily kill them over a few hundred times. This was a state of utter despair. A few people focused on the void flower. They believed that the overlapping of space here was because of this strange flower. If they could pluck this flower, the space should return to normal. Then, they would be able to break into a run and flee. They were sure that even a heaven demon could not possibly catch up to them. Ho, just give up such unnecessary delusions. Han Chi laughed loudly. A white-colored mist surged out from him, instantly enshrouding the entire area. Everyone suddenly felt as if some spell had been placed on their bodies. They couldn't even move a single finger. They were done for. Chapter 1596, Visitor from the Celestial Realm. Chapter 1596, Visitor from the Celestial Realm. Han Chi stood with his arms crossed behind his back, looking as if he did not take these demon masters seriously at all. In his eyes, these were merely ants. So what if he had defeated them? Was there any need to feel especially proud of it? Thus, he was also merciless in his strikes. With a tap of a finger, a demon master's head immediately exploded into bits, and his spirit was also ground to nothing at the first instant. "I despise this place." As he withdrew his finger, he looked at the gathered masses, admiring the looks of fear on their faces. Where I originally was, that was a true holy land of cultivation, but the elders in my clan deliberately sent me to this arduous and primitive place to train me. I miss my old friends dearly. I wish to return to my original life, but I can only stay in this place and be with such smelly pigs like you all in the same galaxy. Han Chi paused, and continued, I haven't started complaining yet, so what right do you all have to? Pa. He tapped out another finger, and a second demon master's head tragically exploded. However, the heavens have finally seen my plight. He turned to look at Empress Luan Xing. They gifted an exquisite beauty to me, as well as a celestial medicine. Haha, then I will gladly accept. He stretched out his hand, grabbing out at the Empress. Small tower, Ling Han said softly in his mind. Wang, suddenly, a frightening energy surged out of his body, immediately pushing his cultivation level up to the consummate level of the Genesis tier. He moved, his fist rushing towards Han Chi's palm. Peng, that palm was immediately shattered into pieces. En. Han Chi was slightly startled. He raised his hand, and saw that the part of his hand between his thumb and forefinger had split. Blood was gushing out, crystalline like jade. He couldn't help but look at Ling Han, and said, You are slightly odd. You are clearly only in the Eternal River tier, yet suddenly possess the cultivation level of the peak stage of the consummate level of the Genesis tier. Yi, this aura, you have actually merged the regulations of the two realms. You are not from this place. The ancient realm had already split into two, and the regulations had also accordingly split into two. It was eternally impossible for anyone to be capable of grasping the regulations of the two realms simultaneously and merge them, and open the doors to the celestial realm from there. Thus, there was only one possibility why someone could merge the regulations of the two realms just like him. He had similarly come from the celestial realm. These words were heard by the other demon masters, and all of them were filled with hope. The peak stage of the consummate level of the Genesis tier? Wasn't that a peak stage heaven demon? Then, as long as Ling Han was willing to save them, they would not die. Ling Han released his aura, which rushed towards the white mist. However, this was a secret technique of the Han clan, and definitely not something that mere aura could oppose. It only allowed Ling Han himself to regain his freedom of movement. Ha 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 ha. Han Chi laughed loudly. Since we both come from the celestial realm, how could a celestial technique that you don't recognize as one be something that your aura could overcome? Which city and which clan are you from? Tell me to avoid dying in my hands by mistake. He was probing into Ling Han's identity here. If Ling Han's background in the celestial realm was huge, then he would be merciful. After all, those who were sent to this place to train would definitely not be the abandoned pawns of the clan. Instead, only those prodigies that were definitely prized would get such an opportunity. The ancient realm was damaged, but if one could cultivate regulations fully even in such a ruined land, his future potential was immeasurable. Moreover, unless they had been truly extraordinarily talented geniuses, his clan would not have possibly spent so much effort to send him into the ancient realm. There definitely had to be some kind of secret technique placed on such a prodigy. If he was killed by another, his clan would be able to easily deduce his killer unless the killer's abilities were superior to the person who had performed the technique. Thus, Han Chi had to first confirm that the force supporting Ling Han was not something that he could trifle with. He was arrogant, but not stupid at all. Otherwise, he would not have possibly been sent into the ancient realm to be trained. All the demon masters were confused by his words. What kind of place was this celestial realm? Some powerful organization of the netherworld? Ling Han smiled calmly, and answered, Dark Moon City, Ding Clan. He did not mind drawing some aggression to the Ding Clan at all. Han Chi pondered for a while, then involuntarily revealed an expression of disdain, and said, So it is merely a single-star small city. He did not have any more reservations. Though he had not heard of this Ding Clan before, he knew what grade the Dark Moon City most likely was. Even a severing mundane tier could be called a senior here. It could not be mentioned on equal terms with the Han clan at all. However, he was feeling a little curious as well. A severing mundane tier ancestor would at most only be able to enter himself into the ancient realm. He should not be able to send others in. Forget it, there was no need to mind. In any case, in front of the Han clan, even severing mundane tier was insignificant. Why don't you measure your own worth? You actually dare challenge me? Han Chi smirked coldly. He had confirmed in his mind, so he naturally did not have the slightest bit of reservations any longer. He stretched out his right hand, and grabbed out at Ling Han. Ling Han used darkness of the paramount night, and an endless darkness spread out, turning into the purest darkness that blocked all the senses. The white mist that enshrouded the area immediately dispersed, and was invaded and swallowed by the darkness. However, it did not completely disappear. Instead, it eventually turned into a battle of equals, both occupying half the territory. Both Ling Han and Han Chi were slightly surprised because neither of them had thought that the other's power was actually capable of matching their own. Ling Han soon felt relieved. This was only the power boost from the Black Tower, which allowed him to possess the power and grasp over regulations that belonged to the consummate level of the Genesis tier, but in truth, this was not Ling Han's true strength. Believed that he would be able to be even stronger when he actually reached this level. Yet Han Chi was truly stunned. Just how powerful was his background? The Han clan was notable even in the celestial realm, and as he was a well-known figure among the younger generation of the Han clan, his battle prowess should definitely be capable of overwhelming all his peers. Yet Ling Han actually managed to match him? This was something that he could not accept. Just about the same in terms of power and cultivation technique. He immediately broke out into a cold smirk. Battle prowess was not defined by such fixed figures. Otherwise, what was the point of battle in the first place? They just needed to compare their figures. Ling Han smiled calmly. This was also what he wanted to say. Possessing such a powerful weapon like the Nine Heavens Flame, in a battle of equal cultivation levels, who would be able to match him? You at least would have to have the qualifications of a celestial king. All of you, step back. I will guarantee your safety, he stated calmly. Because darkness of the paramount night was opposing that white mist, those demon masters also regained their freedom, and Ling Han's words were directed at them. All the demon masters felt rueful. At first, there was one demon master that had something similar to Ling Han and the Empress. At the time, it was an inevitable and right thing to do in their eyes, yet they had never imagined that not too much time would pass, and the target of these words would be changed to them. Furthermore, they had to accept this kindness too. Times changed quickly, really very quickly. Humph, whether they step back or not, the result will be the same, and your only destiny is death. Han Chi declared in objection. He had exposed a secret of the celestial realm, and these people were fated to die. Ice mist, he called out softly. The white mist immediately turned into an eerie air of ice, which posed a great threat even to those in the consummate level of the Genesis tier. All around, even if those demon masters had Ling Han standing in front of them, they were still shivering. The gap in their cultivation level was a little too wide, so how could they possibly face the consummate level of the Genesis tier head-on? Ling Han pressed a hand on Empress Luan Xing, and drew her into the Black Tower. Han Chi was a powerful foe, and he had to ensure that those demon masters behind him did not take advantage of an opening to make a move on the Empress. One should not lack vigilance at any time. He did not want to be filled with regret if anything happened. Cold mist. Ling Han smiled softly. The other definitely would not have imagined that he had a source power within him, which was the Nine Heavens Flame. Immortal Flame. Chapter 1597, Battling Han Chi. Chapter 1597, Battling Han Chi. Hong, blazing white flames surged in Ling Han's body, and there were seals of great Tao throbbing on them. Han Chi's expression was filled with disdain. A mere severing mundane tier clan. Just how strong could the celestial technique he cultivated actually be, then? Just look, those seals of great Tao were not even complete, and he still planned to oppose him like this. He was having delusions. But he immediately discovered there was something off because the ice mist that he had released was presently melting, and the situation had returned to a tie between himself and Ling Han. This This. His face was filled with shock. His celestial technique had actually really been resisted. How could that be? The other's seals of great Tao were not complete, and even then, it was enough to oppose him. Then if they were complete, would he still be a qualified match? This was the descendant of a severing mundane clan? Han Chi was filled with disbelief. He couldn't help but ponder. Actually, aside from entering into the ancient realm to train, he had another mission, and that was to seek out the treasures left behind by those celestial kings that had previously been defeated and died in the ancient realm. In that great turmoil, only a very few lower-tier forces managed to leave the celestial realm in a complete condition, like severing mundane tier. Above severing mundane tier, every force experienced a blood purge. At most only a few minor characters managed to fortunately escape to the ancient realm. Aside from them, there were the celestial kings. The celestial kings were too powerful. Even if they were ganged up on, they would have some means to escape. But if they stayed too long in the ancient realm, so what if they were celestial kings? Their lifespan would still end. Though there were not many celestial kings that had fallen into the ancient realm, it had still drawn the attention of a great many clans of the celestial realm. Han Chi was one of them. While he was training, he was searching for the whereabouts of the remaining treasures of the celestial kings. He looked at Ling Han, and a guess rose up in his heart: could this guy have gotten the inheritance of a celestial king? If that was not the case, how could the technique of a mere severing mundane clan be capable of comparing to him? Haha, this was really a golden opportunity bestowed by the heavens. He showed a menacing expression. He had really earned a lot this time. Celestial medicine, an exquisite beauty, a celestial king technique. He had gained all three of these in a single go. Don't show that kind of expression, you are having delusions, Ling Han stated calmly. You should be down to earth. As for what you should not think of, it is best not to even have the slightest thought of it. Ha ha. Han Chi roared with laughter. You are really quite arrogant. I'm just average, I am only speaking facts. Ling Han shrugged. Then let me see, would it be your mouth that is stronger, or your power that is stronger? Han Chi moved, and had already charged towards Ling Han. He shot out a punch. Wang, innumerable seals appeared, entwined around his fists, and a silvery river which was covered with stars appeared behind him. He focused on cultivating the regulations of ice. As this punch shot out, it seemed as if the space itself was about to freeze. It was incredibly frightening. Ling Han was unafraid, and raised his fist to exchange blows with Han Chi. Peng! 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 The two of them exchanged over a dozen solid bows, and it was hard to decide who was the stronger of the two. They were both at the consummate level of the Genesis tier, and had both grasped the regulations of two realms. There was not much difference in their battle prowess, either. However, Ling Han's brow was tightly frowning. In such an exchange of blows, he discovered that his physique was close to its limit. It should be known that the power boost from the Black Tower only increased his cultivation level, but his physique still remained on its original level. Meanwhile, Han Chi had come from the celestial realm. The amount of cultivation resources that he obtained must be astonishing. In terms of physique, he actually also had a very high achievement. It practically could match godly metal of the same level. This was far inferior to the indestructible Heaven's Scroll, but it was extremely nature-defying in the present situation. He was practically invincible. Ha 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 ha, what right does a piece of trash that came from a small city like you have to compare with our Han clan? Han Chi laughed madly, his fists continuing to strike. He was aggressive in his attacks. He intended to defeat Ling Han in a single breath. The gap in their cultivation levels was really too big. His physique was far from being a match. Ling Han shook his head internally, and no longer confronted the other party with mere fists. He used the lightning sword technique. Xiao, 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 xiao. Sword chi danced out, gloriously changing direction in the skies. He aggressively broke through, breaking out of Han Chi's barrage of blows. He shot out a fist, and sword chi turned into a flash of light that stabbed directly at Han Chi's face. Ice freezes the 9 heavens. Han Chi humphed lightly. The white mist suddenly condensed and solidified in front of him, becoming a defense that was akin to a city wall. On the ice wall, seals of great Tao had appeared. This was an indestructible defense. Peng! The sword light landed, yet only left behind a small crack on the first layer of the ice wall. You can't even penetrate the first layer of my 9-layered armor, and you think you can wound me? Han Chi sneered. I really have no idea where you have gained your courage from to actually dare fight me. Ling Han humphed, and used the 9 heavens flame. Fiery flames began to burn on his fists, and it was like that icy wall immediately melted like a snowball had fallen into boiling soup. What? Han Chi was astonished. And that was not the last of it. The 9 heavens flame showed its might. Wherever Ling Han's fist passed, one layer after another, the icy wall was instantly broken through by Ling Han like it was made out of paper, and he arrived right in front of Han Chi. Han Chi cried out involuntarily and paled. What kind of celestial technique was this? It could actually overcome the 9 underworlds ice mist of the Han clan so easily. At first, he had thought that no matter how awesome Ling Han was, he would only be able to penetrate 2 to 3 ice walls at most, but he had never imagined that when that flame appeared, it would be like a hot knife through butter. He had no choice but to retreat. That flame was too frightening. He had a feeling that if it landed on him directly, the ice element regulations in his body would be melted completely. Damn it! This had to be a celestial king technique, an immortal flame that had been produced through cultivating a celestial king celestial technique. Otherwise, how could it so easily restrain the 9 underworlds ice mist? It should be known that the Han clan was the ruler of a large 3-star city, and had an ancestor in the immortal palace tier, who was an unknown number of times stronger than the severing mundane tier. 9 underworlds ice spike. Han Chi's figure swept out. After avoiding facing Ling Han's attack head-on, he rapidly began his counterattack. Tapping out a finger, the white mist solidified into a spear of ice that stabbed towards Ling Han's ribs from the right. If this spear hit its target, even a great star would explode from the impact. It contained all the power and regulations grasped by an elite at the peak stage of the consummate level of the Genesis tier, so its destructive power was indescribably frightening. Ling Han greeted the attack with a punch of his own. He shot out a fiery flame that formed a divine sword that slashed out at the ice spear. Peng! The spear and sword collided, and red and white spread out. This was a conflict between fire and ice, as well as a collision between 2 types of regulations, which caused even the world to become 2 different colors. Those demon masters managed to escape in the nick of time, but their faces were still charred bark, and icicles hung from parts of their bodies after they were affected by the aftermath from the collision. And this was still because they had advanced to the demon master level. If they had only been in the Eternal River tier, that one shock wave would have been enough to eliminate all of them. Clang! A sharp sound that could shake the whole universe rang out, and the sword of fire sliced the spear of ice in half. It aggressively counterattacked, and slashed out at Han Chi. Han Chi grunted softly, and struck more than 10 times in quick succession. One after another, spears of ice shot out, and extinguished the sword of fire with their advantage in numbers. His face was a little pale, but his expression also became incredibly serious. Ling Han's strength had surpassed his expectations. He definitely could not underestimate him in the slightest any longer, or it was absolutely possible that he would be killed by Ling Han. Kill! Ling Han growled in a low voice, and he dashed out. As his arms waved, he once again escalated the lightning sword technique. This time, he had infused the might of the 9 heavens flame. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,